Hi. In this screencast I'm going to demonstrate a torn paper effect using Inkscape 0.46. Before I get started, one thing you'll notice is that I don't have the key status monitor running. I think it has something to do with this version of Ubuntu, which is Intrepid 8.10. I just did a quick search and saw a bug report filed by none other than HeathenX a few months back. So we still haven't got that fixed. That's when he, I guess, upgraded to Intrepid. I had waited until a week or two ago. Obviously, that seems to be the root of the problem. So for now, no key status monitor. I'll try to be a little less liberal with my keyboard shortcuts and try to use the menu, but I don't use the menus that often, so I'll probably be poking around in there to try to find the right commands the odd time, but I'm sure we'll be able to get by. So, on to the topic of the screencast. This one probably is not going to be very long. We'll do a quick demo here, and it's a pretty generalized effect, so you could use it in lots of different places without much help from me, likely. So, let's get started. The first thing I will do is bring up the document properties, and I want to turn off the page border. That's it there. Okay, and I'm going to be creating an image that's in the end, I don't know, 1280 by 1024, kind of a wallpaper size image. So I will first of all, I will change the width 1280 by 1024, and we'll just, well, we can duplicate that, move it over. I just want to kind of use it as a guide to kind of remind myself where, what size things are. We're going to be clipping objects to kind of fit in this rectangle later on, but for now, the basic effect is actually fairly simple. What I do before I start is I just to give you an overview, I'm going to draw a line across your shape around here, okay, and this edge of the shape that I'm running my mouse along, that's going to be the paper edge, and we'll just use a couple of tools here just to create that paper edge. So first of all, we're going to use the freehand tool, and it's not critical how you draw the line. You'll trial and error type of thing and see if you can get what you want, but this is what I end up doing is I hold down the mouse button, I draw a line that's kind of straight, but you don't want it to be perfectly straight. If you're like me with the mouse, it won't be, and then I just draw around the rest of that circle, and when I end, I make sure that that little box is red, then I let go and I've got a closed path. Okay, so that's going to be one paper edge, and we're going to fix that up in a second. The second paper edge for the effect that I'm going for, I'm going to need another edge that's different than this one, that may crisscross this one, okay, to get the kind of effect I want. So I'm just going to try again with another line that may crisscross in certain places. And again, make sure you go outside the rectangle, go around, and again, land on the red square. So we've got two paths here. Now, we should do another two, without boring you too much. Down here, I'm trying to go for a paper kind of torn out the middle here. So I'm going to do another pair of paths along the bottom. I'm not sure how great this one will turn out, but we'll just give it a go. There's one, and there's another one. Don't have 4 cups of coffee before you do this. Actually, it might help you out here when you see what we're going to do. So first thing I will do, select one of the paths, and I will go Effect, Modify Path, Add Nodes. I'm going to pick a segment length of 5 pixels. You might want to play with this. What I'm trying to do here is, right now, if you double click this, you'll see that there's a certain amount of nodes, but that's not nearly enough for what I want to do. So what I'm going to do is take this path and add nodes so that I get a maximum segment length of 5 pixels. Hit Apply. There we go. So now when I double click this path, you'll see all the nodes here that I've added. Okay, we're going to do that to each path. So we'll select the next one, Apply, select this one down here, apply, and select that fourth one, apply. So they've now got a ton of nodes in there. Now again, on all 4 paths, what I'm going to do is use the Jitter Nodes effect. So we'll select the first one, Effects, Modify Path, Jitter Nodes, and I found that a maximum displacement of 3 pixels is good. Click Apply, and you should see that edge roughen up. I don't know if you can see it that well. See how it's now rougher? That's the kind of effect I want. Select the next path, apply, select the next path, apply, and we'll select our 4th path and apply. So there we've got all our kind of paper edges. And now what I want to do is bring in some bitmap patterns. What I'm going to try to do is kind of a funky looking wallpaper here that we're going to tear a strip out of to use here. So I'll just zoom out here, and we will bring in our images. Now, where I got this image, I'll just kind of point you to a kind of neat site called CGTextures.com. They have all kinds of different textures. If you run your mouse over them, you can see close-ups of them. But on the left here, they've got all these, kind of different groups of types of textures. So what I was looking for was kind of a funky wallpaper, so I went to the paper folder here and went wallpaper and then 70s, of course. And I just scrolled down here, found one I liked, and it happened to be this one. But you can go through here. There's this really good site for finding good patterns, and then when you click on one, you'll get a rating, all the information about the image, and then you have a bunch of different resolutions you can get, okay, which is really nice considering the site is free. So what you have up here, keep in mind you have a quota left, 15 megabytes of 15 megabytes, and that means I'm allowed to download 15 megabytes worth of images. I think it's a 24-hour waiting period, so you could download up to 15 megabytes of images, and then you got to kind of come back the next day or 24 hours later, something like that. You can look on the site, but if you're working on small Inkscape projects, it's quite valuable to go through there if you're looking for a texture for any kind of graphics project. But very useful site. I think Heathen X pointed me to this site a while back, and I find it quite useful. So let's get back here. I will bring in, let's see, where are we here? Episode 83, and we will bring in our 70s wallpaper. Okay. Now, I'll probably, let's see how big this is. Yeah, that's going to work. So I'm going to use this, take this bitmap, and I'm going to select it and then say Object, Menu, Pattern, Objects to Pattern. So now this is a pattern that we can use to fill different shapes. Okay, so I'm going to pick one of my paths, and I'm going to bring in the Fill and Stroke dialog box, and I'm going to change the stroke so that it's off, and change the fill to a pattern. By default, it's going to select the pattern I just created from that image. So there's one piece of wallpaper. Down here, I'll pick one, and again, turn the stroke off, and change to pattern. And then these other shapes, what I'm going to do is select them, turn the stroke off, and fill them with white. Okay, and this one as well. You've got to kind of keep track of where your images are, especially if you're dumb like me and you're working with white filled shapes on a white background. But anyways, we've got 4 shapes here. Okay, and for each one, what I want to do is create a shadow underneath each one, which gives a nice, you'll see a kind of nice depth to the tear here. So first of all, I want to send this back with page down. So I'm working with this, probably send this one back as well. So that's kind of the look we're going to get. We're going to get white paper kind of torn underneath this colored wallpaper. But for each one, I want to put a little drop shadow under it. So a quick way to do that is select the pattern we we have. First of all, we'll hit Control D, or actually I should probably go under the Edit menu, hit Duplicate. So we've got a second object up here, and instead of the pattern I'm going to change to a black fill, and I'm going to put I don't know, 0.5 blur on that fill, and I'm going to send it back with the page down button below that paper. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with the white paper underneath. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to change the duplicate so that it is black, and I'm going to give it 0.5 blur, and I'm going to send it with the page down key below the colored wallpaper, below its drop shadow, and below the white paper. Okay, so you can see there's I'm at the risk here of slowing things down majorly on my system, but I'll show you closer up what the difference is. See, this has a nice kind of depth to it here. This doesn't. This is just nice and flat. So this is the kind of effect I wanted. Okay, you can see a little seam here in my pattern. It's obviously not the greatest pattern to pick, I guess, but anyways, we'll do the same with these. We'll bring up the fill and stroke dialog box for this one. We will select it, Control D to duplicate it, change the duplicate to black, and 0.5 fill. Send it back, and we'll try and grab our white. If you want to select an object behind, you can hold Alt and just cycle through all the objects that are under the mouse and look for the white one, which is there. Hit Control D, turn it black, give it 0.5 blur, and we just page down until it's under the white. Okay, so that's nice. Now what I will do is I will zoom out here. I can delete this image, and I will import another image I have, which is a clouds image. I'm going to just draw it under here somehow. Probably just want that part showing there, maybe. Okay, now I guess first things we could bring this out of the way. What I want to do is take this rectangle I've created. Actually, we can use the one that's behind there. Just a second here while I get things back in line. I'll take the gray rectangle, bring it up to the top, bring up the fill and stroke dialog box, and make that, I don't think this really matters, but we'll make it 100% opaque. I know what I forgot. We want to take all of these things and group them as one object. Then we bring the rectangle over to where we want it, and I'm going to then select both the grouped objects and the black rectangle and do an object clip set. So now it's cut off all those extra drop shadows around the edges, and I'm going to bring in do an alignment here so we can bring in that other black rectangle. Okay, I want to bring that up to the top. Sorry, I'm not selecting the black one. Up to the top. And lastly, I'm going to bring my clouds image in to where I want it, somewhere here. Again, select the black rectangle as well, using Shift and click, object clip set, and now it is behind. So there's the kind of effect I was going for. You might be able to use that that type of thing on kind of like scrapbooking projects. You could make tears in paper, different types of effects like that. And that is it. Not a long screencast, hopefully useful, and probably very simple to understand. Thank you very much for watching.